Good morning, everybody. Happy Pride. It is a glorious morning here in Rockville and Montgomery County to kick off the 6th annual Pride celebration with the raising of the Progress Flag. And it is wonderful to be surrounded by all of you, to be here to recommit ourselves to the beautiful diversity that calls Montgomery County home. All of us here lead with compassion, with inclusion, to celebrate our diversity, to make sure that our residents love each other, respect each other, and accept each other. That is what Pride is all about. That is what Montgomery County is all about, and that is the work that all of us have been doing, be it at the County Council, the County Executive Building, or at the General Assembly in Annapolis, and all the other levels of government throughout our community. And while we proudly celebrate Pride today and throughout the month of June, we know that not every resident of the United States, not every resident in the general area faces the same celebratory and welcoming community that we have here. We know that there are people and places that face discrimination, in the halls of city council to the state legislatures. Since January, more than 500 anti-LGBTQ plus pieces of legislation have been introduced in legislatures across the country. People are banning books and trying to erase people's identities. This school year, in fact, there were over 4,300 instances of books being banned across the United States, which is a nearly 1/3 increase from the year prior. We know that the weaponization of public policy has driven extremists, increased hate and violence, all at the expense of our most marginalized communities. And just last month, a legal case involving Montgomery County Public Schools, a legal case against a proposal that was to support inclusion and diversity, made its way up to the Supreme Court, which declined to hear that case. And I will add, it was probably the wisest decision that the Supreme Court has made recently. And we want the Supreme Court to know, and we want everybody to know, that all students are welcome and seen here in Montgomery County and in our public schools. And now, more than ever, we want everyone to know that all of us in local government and state government have your backs. We are here to support and protect and make sure that our beautiful diversity shines through. And so the Progress Flag that we are going to be raising today, it has evolved over time, just like our community has continued to grow and widen. And as we continue celebrating that diversity, we will continue fighting for expanded civil rights and liberties and reflect our public policy on the beautiful diversity of Montgomery County. No one should feel ashamed in Montgomery County or across Maryland for who they are or who they love. And so before I turn it over to the county executive, I want to acknowledge the team that is all here today, making sure that we lead with our hearts. I want to recognize Council President Andrew Friedson, Council Vice President Kate Stewart, Council members Gabe Albernaz, Marilyn Balcom, Natalie Fani Gonzalez, Will Jawando, Sydney Katz, Don Ludke, Kristen Mink, and Lorianne Sales, their team council. We also have Team Annapolis who is here. Want to acknowledge Delegate Lorig Charkoudian, Delegate Linda Foley, Delegate David Fraser Hidalgo, all the way from Frederick County, Delegate Chris Fair. Where are you? You're over there. and Delegate Jared Solomon. We also have Sheriff Max Wee here. Thank you very much, Sheriff. A number of advocates are here, too many to name, but we can't do this work without you, whether you are with the Pride Center, you're a member of our faith community, or you're an activist within our schools. We thank you for the work that you're doing. And now I'd like to turn it over to the County Executive, Marc Elrich.
Thank you. So thank you all for being here this morning. This is a beautiful day. Somebody was commenting on how not beautiful it was last year. So this is a lovely contrast. And it's great to be able to do this. This is one of the great things about Montgomery County. You get to be progressive. You get to lead on social issues. You can stand up for people's rights. And it's generally accepted here. Maybe not by everybody. We know that's true. But by most people. And because most people accept it, and it's something that we come to expect, it makes it much harder for people to push back against it. You're not working in a vacuum here. You're working in an environment where most people have a positive view of the kind of work that this council's done, that the state's done, and why we're doing this work. I want to thank Dr. Amina Johnson for being here today, and she's our first LGBTQ plus liaison, and it's an important role we play in this county. I want to thank Rich Madalino for being here. I think he's back over there. And, Rich, because he was one of the leaders in the fight to get this through the state legislature and eventually passed by the state of Maryland. It's a big deal, and Rich was there to fight that fight. And a tribute to what you can do in Maryland, he could do that and be elected and be a leader in a state that accepts that that's a perfectly normal thing for a person to do, any person to do. So it's, we've got history in this county. I was on a 1983 council in Tacoma Park that passed the first domestic partnership law. Because we didn't have the authority to legalize marriage, but there were this idea of domestic partnerships, and we had residents in our city who could not visit people in a hospital because their parents, their partner's parent might say, he's not part of the family. He may be boyfriend or whatever, but he's not part of the family, and only family members to come in. And so we created domestic partnership so couples could register their partnership, and the hospitals could no longer keep them from visiting their loved ones when their loved ones were in a hospital. And even in 1983, that happened with relatively little noise, and that was Tacoma Park. I'd say there are good things about Tacoma Park, and that's one of the really good things about Tacoma Park. It was an environment of acceptance. These collective efforts that everybody's done are really important. They help ensure that this community is welcome, they're part of us, and that they're safe here. And we make them as safe as we possibly can. We are aggressive about responding to incidents of hate and violence. We understand that safety and security don't mean anything if the police aren't going to back that up and be present for that. So that's important to us. We've organized, the Pride Org launch. You've got your Pride initiative where your stores have these little stickers they're putting on to let people know they're welcome to come into the store. Those are little things, but they're little things that matter. And I'm really happy to live in a county where we're able to do this stuff. So today we're going to raise the Pride flag again. I'm really glad that we're able to do this with this kind of assembled group. And it's something the county will be putting up on its website and letting people know we're doing this. I still get strange emails from people who don't understand why I'm not following some scriptural reference dating back 5,000 years ago. We live in the present, and our acceptance and understanding of human beings is a lot different now than it was in the past. And we need to tie ourselves to the present, walking into the future, not dragging ourselves back into some earlier, more primitive form of human life. So I like where we stand. I like where we're going. I'm glad to be a part of a group of people who have the same intention. So thank you all very much.
Thank you, County Executive Elrich. Now we have a number of guests who I'd like to make some comments. And the first is a good friend of mine, Annise Parker. And Annise is the president and CEO of the LGBTQ+ Victory Institute, which is a 501c3 that works across the globe to increase the number and expand the diversity and success of LGBTQ+ leaders at all levels of government. And before leading Victory Institute, Annise served as the mayor of Houston, Texas, the fourth largest city in this country. And when she was elected, Mayor Parker was the first openly LGBTQ+ mayor of an American city. And what makes this moment bittersweet is later this year, Mayor Parker will be retiring from Victory after 7 years of leadership, but I know that she's going to continue pushing for civil rights across this country. So Mayor Parker, come on up.
Thank you, Councilmember. And I have to say, I wasn't the first LGBT mayor of any city here in the United States, but of a really big one. Of a real, certainly of a top 10 U.S. city. And I was in office for 18 years in Houston. I'm really happy to be here. First and foremost, let me wish everyone a happy Pride Month. And I was given a couple of minutes to talk about Pride and what's happening around the country. And so I'm going to touch a little bit on history and flags and rainbows and why we celebrate Pride. And it's okay to talk about history. Somebody gives almost the same speech at every Pride event I go to, and it's all about that we're commemorating Stonewall and a riot, and no, we're not. So let me say that right off the bat. I'm not quite the Stonewall generation, but I was right behind it. And I attended my first LGBT organizing event in 1975. And this was before the internet. We were all on our own little islands, in our own little worlds, and we didn't know what was going on in New York. And certainly a little girl from Texas, from Houston, we had no idea what was going on the East Coast and the West Coast. But we did know that people were organizing and were trying to speak out. We do our events in June to commemorate Stonewall, but Pride marches, Pride activities were never about that. They were about what was going on in our own communities and what we needed to do in our own communities. So that's the history. Then I want to talk about flags just a little bit. You know, vexillology is the history of the use and symbolism of flags. You know, there's a word for everything. So vexillology, a flag is a piece of fabric, but a flag has never just been a piece of fabric. Since antiquity, people have used flags as symbols and as signals. And we know this. We know it, even a white flag of surrender or the skull and crossbones for pirates. But flags were about recognizing families or rulers or military units so that you could see them on the battlefield, to identify different groups in distress or duress, or when it was difficult to know who your friends and your enemies are. Flags have always done that. The first use of what we call the Pride flag was in 1978. And it was in San Francisco, and it actually had 8 colors at the beginning. And then it was decided that was too many colors for the printers. They went to 6 colors in 1979. But it was about hope and liberation, because they tapped into the symbolism of rainbows. When do we see rainbows? We see rainbows after the storm. We see rainbows when we need to remember that life renews and moves forward, when we need to have hope. So hope and liberation wrapped together in a symbol and a signal that everyone can see. Now, I know, and the county executive talked a little bit about those who complain each year about why we do these things, why we celebrate Pride, why we have flag raisings and pride parades and various other activities. And to be clear, we're not here to celebrate or be proud of something that I believe is an immutable fact of my existence. We're here to celebrate and be proud of the fact that we're still here and still thriving in the face of insults and literal assaults, in the face of indignities and inequities, in a time where we see that many of the great forward steps that we have taken can easily be reversed. And there are certainly those who are more and more empowered to try to do that. We celebrate Pride because we are alive for one more year. And certainly during the depths of the AIDS epidemic, that was a big piece of every Pride Month and Pride Parade, that we're still here. We have survived one more year. But also, we're recognizing that our lives do get better every year, and our worth and dignity as human beings is more affirmed each year. That is worth celebrating. And so, when in a few minutes we raise a piece of fabric, remember that it has never been just that. And we are raising it for the same reasons that people have always used flags. We are saying that this is a place of safety, this is a place of respect, this is a place of inclusion, and we want everyone who can see that flag to know and understand that. One of the things that happens a lot during these months, or this month of Pride Month, is that we talk about civil rights movements. And there's often the quote from the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. about the arc of the moral universe is long, but it bends towards justice. And I struggle with that because I think a lot of people use that quote as if it's magical, as if that is a natural way that the world works, that is moving ever toward a more progressive, inclusive future. No, that is not how it works. The arc of the moral universe bends towards justice because generation after generation after generation have placed their hands together and moved it into place. And each time one of us falters, someone else has to step up and put their hand out, one on top of the other, one after another, and move it into place. So we hope that everyone who sees the flag that will be raised today is willing to step up, place their hand together, and move all of our world, the arc of the moral universe, into a more just, welcoming, and open place for every one of our citizens. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mayor Parker, for raising your hand and dedicating yourself to civil rights across the country and across the globe. From national and international advocacy, I want to bring it back a little closer to home and invite up Reverend Ali Casey Bell to provide some comments. Reverend Bell serves as the Minister of Congregational Life and Engagement at Cedar Lane, Unitarian Universalist in Bethesda. And Reverend Bell is committed to social justice, participating as a member of the Montgomery County Anti-Hate Task Force, and also chairing the Maryland Coalition of Inclusive Schools and Community. Reverend Bell, where are you?
Good morning. I'm Ali Casey Bell, like Muhammad Ali. I'm so happy to be here today. As we gather here today to raise the pride flag, we do so with a sense of joy, celebration, and deep reverence for the journey that has brought us to this moment. It is a journey marked by courage, resilience, and an unwavering commitment to justice, love, and thriving. In Montgomery County, we have made significant strides towards creating a more inclusive and affirming community for all of our residents, regardless of sexual orientation or gender identity. Just a few weeks ago, we more adequately funded the Montgomery County Pride Center. May it be a physical space where we can continue the good works of our community. We work hard as a community of people who understand that equity does not take from others, but adds to us all. When we made sure that a torrent of hateful actions and rhetoric did not divide us in the face of book bans in our schools, we told the nation that we understand that being an interconnected community means that we all have to understand the intersections of religion, race, and the importance of all voices having a space to be heard. And today, we lift up these accomplishments and honor the countless individuals who have paved the way for progress. And in lifting these accomplishments as a resident of Montgomery County, I turn to you, all of you, esteemed officials, and I ask each of you to affirm this commitment. I commit to making the Montgomery County Pride Center a physical reality. If you so affirm, please raise your hand and say, I do. I do. Excellent. Flying the pride flag is more than a symbol. It is a testament to our shared values of dignity, equity, and respect. It is a vivid reminder that in our country, every one of us is beloved and deserving of equity in our communities and in our lives. We make the shared belief that every person is valued for who they are. As a Unitarian Universalist minister and a Black transgender man, I am proud to be with you in this commitment to affirming the inherent worth and dignity of every individual. We must also remember the countless unsung heroes in our community, teachers, artists, activists, and everyday citizens whose quiet bravery and persistent efforts have led the foundation for the freedoms we enjoy today. Their legacy reminds us that change is possible and that every action, no matter how small, can contribute to a larger movement for justice. However, as we celebrate, we must also recognize that our work is far from finished. In our county council, we need advocates that can act as liaisons between our marginalized communities and our council. Often, people who have been marginalized have been taught by the systems that are designed to serve them that they are not worthy of that system. We have been actively harmed by these systems. These liaisons are crucial to each and every marginalized community that they represent. And it is important that we remember the most impacted communities, Black, Latinx, and transgender folks, such as Sylvia Rivera and Marsha P. Johnson, are foundations of pride in our country, and the reason that many of us are here today. Therefore, it is my hope that we continue to breathe the breath of equity into the lungs of our council and fund full-time positions for all of our liaisons. Their work is vital to our help and healing. And while we've made significant progress, there are still many among us who face discrimination, marginalization, and injustice. We must continue to hold accountable those who would allow the prejudice to rob any of our citizens of their right to live in an equitable and thriving society. We are firmly in solidarity with our LGBTQIA+ siblings, advocating for their rights and ensuring their voices are heard. let us remember that true inclusion means more than just acceptance. It means actively working to dismantle the systems of oppression that continue to harm our community. It means listening to the experiences of those who are most vulnerable and amplifying their voices. It means committing ourselves to the ongoing work of education, advocacy, and allyship. And as we raise this flag, let it be a beacon of hope and a call to action. Let it remind us of our shared responsibility to create a world where every person can live authentically and freely. Let it inspire us to continue the work of building a more just, loving, and inclusive society. And in the words of our Audre Lorde, in a world of possibility for us all, our personal vision helps lay the groundwork for political action. Let us envision the most loving, most courageous, most thriving, most beloved community that we can, and set our hearts and minds in action to the task of making it so. And in the spirit of my Unitarian Universalist principles, let us affirm our commitment to justice, to equity, and compassion in human relations. Let us celebrate our diversity and recognize that it is our strength. And let us move forward together with open hearts, unwavering determination, and until the day when every person is free to live their truth without fear or prejudice. This is my prayer. Thank you, and may we all continue to work for a world where love, justice, equity, and thriving prevail. Blessed be, and may it be so.
Amen. I think I know where I'm going to be Sunday morning. I also want to give Reverend Bell kudos for talking about next year's budget 2 weeks after we just concluded and approved our $7.1 billion budget. Nicely done, Reverend. Someone else who has their eye on the budget but might not mention it this morning, want to introduce next. Good friend to all of us, Travis Simon, who is the Executive Director of SEIU Local 500 and also serves as the Vice President of the International SEIU Lavender Caucus. Travis is a passionate leader for working families and all individuals, and he also serves on the Board of Directors for the AFL-CIO's Pride at Work, a champion of civil rights and workers' rights. Travis, come on up.
Thank you. So I can talk about the budget, you said? No, okay. Happy Pride, everybody. Happy Pride. First, I'd like to say a thank you to the county executive and the members of the Montgomery County Council, but I'd like to say a special thank you to the first openly LGBTQ member of the council, Evan Glass, for inviting me to be a part of today's ceremony. So thank you. As Evan said, my name is Travis Simon, and I'm proud to serve as the first openly gay executive director of SEIU Local 500. We represent over 20,000 workers in the region, and I'm deeply humbled to represent them here today. Unions like SEIU fight for inclusive workplaces for all, ensuring that everyone, regardless of who they are or who they love, has fair wages, good benefits, and safe working conditions. Pride Month is a time to celebrate, but it is also a reminder that the struggle for equality, justice, and liberation must continue. While we have come a long way as a movement, discrimination and prejudice continue in many workplaces and in our community. And I would not be doing my job here today if I didn't remind folks that one of the best protections for LGBTQIA+ workers is having a strong union contract. Join me in pushing for a future where everyone can be proud of who they are, who they love, and where they work. Be you and be proud. Thank you very much.
And with that, who's ready to raise the flag? Again, thank you to everybody here in Rockville and everybody across the state of Maryland who continue supporting all members of our community, making sure everybody can continue living their lives as their true selves and love whom they want. And also want to give it up to my staff, led by Valeria Carranza and the entire team, for continuing 6 years of Pride It has gotten easier. It continues getting better. And now let's raise the flag.